Click it, and we're gonna see. Okay, yeah, okay. So it went to today at 8 p.m. and now we are live on Facebook. Oh, there we are. We are absolutely live. Um, Welcome everybody. How we doing? I am your host, Super Joe Pardo, and today is a special day. We're recording this on Monday the 20th, but yesterday was the real special day. It was the 5th anniversary of yes, Ava. What's my name? You okay? Yeah. All right. So yesterday was the 5th anniversary of my podcast, which was originally called the Dreamers Podcast or Dreamers Podcast, not the Facebook. And it doesn't even feel real. I mean, there's been so many things that have happened over these couple of years. Like one's jumping up and down next to me, which I mean, you can't always say about everything in your life. Here, you want to come sit up here? Anyway, yeah. So it's been a crazy couple of 5 years, that is for sure. And I have had the honor of getting to meet and know so many great, awesome people. Trying to move my mic here so that Ava can be in the frame at the same time. Ava, say hi.
Hi.
Anyway, I've had the pleasure of getting to meet so many awesome and wonderful people along this journey. But one of them has been on the show as many times as I have been on the show because they have been on every single outro. And if you go back to the early days of the show, every single intro for quite a number of episodes dating back to the very beginning. And I have the honor of introducing for like the 5th oh boy, did you just hey all right, we don't need to touch all that. We don't need to touch all that, Ava. It's okay. I have the honor of introducing the one and only Sir Al Kessel, who, for anyone who doesn't know, he helped me get my start in podcasting in a way that many others did not give me that ability to start with podcasting. Al, thank you so much for everything that you've done. Even though you might not necessarily feel like it was a lot, it was a lot to me, still is a lot to me, and it's an honor to have you here today. Give the people what they want. Say hello.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Well, it's a pleasure to be here, Joe. It really is, and it's been a wonderful 5 years. It's just been absolutely crazy. Like you said, I remember back when this was just an idea, a seed in your head to do this Dreamers podcast, and I remember thinking this was a great idea. Let's get you on the road. So yeah, I did everything I could to help you. And honestly, I mean, I didn't think, at least, that I did all that much. I mean, I had been doing podcasting with my wife for years before that, and I just shared with you what had worked for me. And, I mean, I just thought that was the right thing to do because I believed in what you had. And look at now.
I know. Yeah, right. I get the honor of podcasting next to this young lady. It helped me immensely because while I had the technical, 1 second, Ava, let me just get this thought out. While I had the technical chops to record my own audio, thanks to my DJing background and the technical background to kind of put it all together, there was a lot of gaps that I was missing. And it was that first, and I still remember that first, I think we only talked for like 25 minutes or something like that on Skype. And then 2 weeks later, I was releasing my first ever episode of the Dreamers podcast. And, Yeah, well, it was you. You know, you had me on your show, which you don't record your show anymore. I don't think.
No, my wife and I made the tough decision to quit doing Tales from the Mouse House because time just became so, so precious. I didn't have, 24 hours a day is just not enough to grow my business and to do that too. So, I mean, we still have the feed. We just don't really do anything with it.
Oh, yeah, and it's quite understandable. I mean, I know there's been plenty of times where I didn't feel like getting a show out. And in fact, earlier this year, I took like basically 2 months off.
Yeah.
January and February, I wasn't feeling well, and I just couldn't get the episodes out that I wanted to get. Let's see, what does Rick Moyer have to say? Al and Joyce are that kind of amazing people. They have helped many times over the years and are quality folks, and I could not agree more.
You're making me blush, guys. Come on.
Having my own Mr. Voice at the end of every episode is something that it was like a cool idea dating back to like listening to the Mr. Voice of WDW today. That while it still exists, it's not the original crew. And just having somebody to like bounce ideas with over the years, and somebody who I mean, we don't talk every single day, but we do interact quite a bit over Facebook, and having you be my first guest, and then 5 years later still being able to invite you on my show is just awesome. I think the last time we did a show together was either the second or third year.
Third year, yeah.
I think it was the third year. That's right, yeah, because the second year I did a show with Rich Quick and Matt, and then the third year I had you on, and then last year did I do anything last year?
Last year, yeah.
I don't think I did either. I think I kind of glossed over it. Yeah, I think I glossed over it. So here we are with the fifth year. So it's never too late to celebrate, right? So Al, let's catch up with you, because it's been a long time, and you have like a full on business now. So it's not even like a side gig or a side hustle or anything. This is it, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
Like that. Thank you. Yeah,
awesome.
It took a while to do it, but and I kind of didn't have the luxury of easing into this. In the beginning, when my wife Joyce and I were doing the podcast, I had dabbled a little bit with voiceover stuff, and I had gotten the bug then, and then in 2013, my life came crashing down around my ankles, and I was laid off. The laid off, quote unquote, from my job of nearly 15 years, and my wonderful wife encouraged me and pushed me into doing voiceover and audiobooks full time, and sure enough, I mean, I dove in, and it was a rough 3 years or so, but around the 4-year mark, things started gelling. I started getting a lot of small jobs here and there, and Rick Moyer helped me out a lot. He gave me some work, and then I started doing audiobooks, and that seemed to be where my niche was. And last year, my wife and I went to New York to a big audio book publishers conference, and I met some wonderful people there. Got hooked up with a major publisher, and I have been pretty much nonstop busy since then. And I mean, I usually work 7 days a week. I work, I most of the time I'll get up between 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm working all day, and then depending on the length of the book and the deadline, I'll be working all night. But I have never been happier to be so exhausted in my life, and this has enabled my wife and I to do some things. She started her own side business. She does Disney travel planning. So anybody looking for a vacation, contact my wife Joyce. But other than that, yeah, I mean, that's what I've been doing. I've been locked in this 4x6 box most of the time, doing audiobooks and loving every minute of it, and watching you grow.
Well, and I'm going to watch you grow.
Yeah.
Being in Arizona, people don't realize that having, so you don't have the air conditioning, the luxury of air conditioning in that box.
No, not at all. And I have to shut the air conditioning in the house off, in order to have a quiet recording space. And it can get pretty warm in there. I mean, usually within an hour, I'm rocking at about 95, 97 degrees in the booth.
Wow.
During the summer.
Wow, that is quite hot. How like what are some of the ways that you stay cool in there?
Oh, you don't want to know.
Oh, okay. No, maybe you're right. Maybe some things are better off left
Yeah,
unsaid.
usually, to be honest, I'm recording without a shirt on because that helps cool you down. But I take breaks as often as I can. I keep cold water in there. There's even been some especially hot days when I've taken an ice pack and I'm sitting on it.
I mean, this is the pain and the passion and everything that like the literal sweat and probably some tears.
Oh,
From the sweat dripping into your eyes and making them water. That comes out when you're that passionate about the thing that you want to do, and Al, that kind of stuff is what spurred me on to start the podcast in the first place. Is like, there's these people doing these awesome things that they're like willing to do literally like whatever it takes to make it happen.
Yeah.
I I see Jeff Stoner just said, congrats, Joe, on 5 wonderful years. You're an inspiration. I appreciate that, Jeff. You are an inspiration. So many of the people that I've had on the show and met because of the show and met because of podcasting are such an inspiration to me. And having a network that grows,
you are an inspiration
through over the entire world, like end over end, is just incredible.
Yeah.
Ava, are you what are you doing? Yeah, that's what I thought. So hey Cheryl, how you doing? So Al, when now that you're still doing, like, you're doing a 7 days a week still, right? Was that as of now, or was that as like a year ago, like working into regularity?
Yeah. Yep. It's pretty, I usually work, to be honest, I lose track of the days. I mean, I really do. But I'll usually work 7 days a week. And then if I can, I'll try to build in, maybe a couple of days off in my schedule. And then I'll do nothing for a couple of days and go crazy because, when you're constantly busy and then all of a sudden you're not doing anything, you get that feeling like you should be doing something. But yeah, I mean, that's the life of an entertainer, I guess.
How do you combat that though? Because I know that I always feel like if I'm not working, then I'm not doing, and if I'm not doing, then I'm not making money, and if I'm not making money, then what am I doing?
Right. That's that entrepreneur spirit. And a lot of people think that that's a bad thing, that you have trouble separating, your downtime from your work time. But I think it's a plus. It's that drive that makes people like us more successful. And then you just have to, understand that you need downtime once in a great while. You need downtime to recharge the batteries, because if you don't, then your work starts to suffer. When I first started getting really, really busy, that was hard for me. I mean, I used to drive my wife crazy, because if I wasn't working, I just didn't feel right. And just like everything else, when you're learning to run your own business successfully, there's things that you have to learn. You have to learn how to do what you're doing. You have to learn the technical aspects of it. And for me, you have to learn how to perform it and interpret the writer stuff. But you also have to learn how to not do things. You have to learn how to unplug. And that took me a while, but now I think I'm pretty successful. And when I need to unplug, I will unplug and just vegetate. My wife and I, we're now in a position where, it's possible for us to get away for a day or two if we need to, or if we want to. So that helps unplug as well. Where'd you go, Joe? I think I'm the only one here now.
I lost myself.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. It just said all snap and it died.
I was died. I had a panic moment. Oh my gosh! How am I going to?
Like, how do I take over the show?
I know what I'll do. I'll just read a book.
Yeah, there.
It was a dark and lonely night. Going back to the things that you have to learn, just kind of a quick funny story. When I realized that I needed a booth, a place to record, I couldn't find a carpenter that would build this booth that I had purchased plans, because they were all like, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. So I had to teach myself rudimentary carpentry. And I built the booth that I have by myself. With the help of my wife and a lot of scotch, but and a lot of trips to the ER. But there's just things you have to learn. All around.
It's funny that you couldn't get a carpenter to build a box.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's more complex than just a box, because it's like it's literally like a small miniature house, double wall. You got to have real thick insulation in between. It's got to be raised off the ground. But I would think that any carpenter worth his salt would be able to look at the plans and go, okay, we can do this. But I went through probably 5 or 6, met with one, gave him the plans. He looked them over for a weekend and said, no, I can't do this.
Wow. That's, wow. You're like, take my money, please.
I know. I was willing to sell a kidney to fund this thing, and nobody wanted to help out.
Now going and getting into the voiceover stuff. I have used you for 2 of my books, 31 Life-Changing Concepts and Sales Won't Save Your Business. And it's funny. I think it's really cool how, like, over the years we've been able to like you did books for Dr. Jeff Barnes and who else that it's like from that circle of people, because I think there's at least 1 or 2 other people. I can't think of the name off the top of my head.
Well, I've done I love doing the Disney themed books. Anything Disney themed, I jump at the chance to do it. In fact, another little plug here, I've got a book that I just completed recently for Tantor that is up for pre-order now, and that book was a blast to do. But Dr. Jeff Barnes was fantastic to work with. You were fantastic to work with, and so many people.
Oh yeah, I'm glad that you've been able to get some Disney books. I hope you continue to get Disney books, especially since it's something you're so passionate about. Obviously, you have Mickey and a Dumbo, and I didn't even know you had that. Ava, look, see, Santa has a Mickey head on his arm. See? Ooh, is right. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want a Mickey on your hand?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we can get it painted on there.
Little henna tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ava. So what else has been going on in the last couple of years for you?
Really that. My wife and I have been building up my voiceover business, building up her travel business, and really just that. Finally, after 6 years or more, finally went back to Disneyland. We hadn't been there since 2012. so we were able to go there. She had a training thing for the Disney Travel Planners. So I got to tag along. I had to pay my own hotel room, so I was bacheloring it for a while. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it's my life pretty much has just been audiobook.
It's really ironic that Ava is supposed to be in bed right now, and she talks into the mic. And if you recall, I was doing Facebook Lives. I guess it was like in 2016, into 2017, and I was doing a lot of them with Matt, who is was one of my best friends for a long time, since I was like 5 or 6 years old. Anyway, and I used to do the Facebook Lives holding Ava.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am doing a Facebook Live holding Ava, just 3 years later, except he's way bigger and more distracting than she was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But so going let's go back. So for anyone who hasn't followed this journey for the last 5 years. Yes, Ava. Where's my laptop?
Is it there?
No, that's a tablet.
I want a tablet.
I know you want a tablet. You need to go to bed though. Like it's really getting time to go to bed.
I want a tablet.
All right, it's time to go to bed, Ava. Oh, see, everything's cool until you say no.
Yeah.
That's when the fierceness comes out.
Like Wolverine.
Yeah, right. It's about to go down.
Listen, I ain't going to bed.
I ain't going to bed. I ain't gonna. Oh, careful with that. Careful with that. So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, so I have a music album based around the album or the movie Up, Pixar's Up, and that helped inspire this whole long journey that turned into the Dreamers podcast, which turned into business with Super Joe Pardo, and the whole thing's kicked off with doing this album, and that happened back on April 14th is when it dropped. So what yes, Ava. What, do you want to sit next to me?
Yeah.
All right, come here.
No, right there.
No, sit here.
No, right here. Right there.
Anyway, this journey started with a music album that was like hip hop instrumentals mashed up with Disney songs to tell the story of Up. And I started reaching out to podcasts, mostly Disney podcasts, that could have me on their show to help promote the release of the album. And you were one of the handful of podcasts that got back to me that were generous enough to have me on, even though it was like illegal art and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I kind of am enjoying this whole like be a guest on a podcast thing. And I'm flying down to Disney. Of course, I'm flying down to Disney World to run a 5K now with I think it was the last 5K of the what's it called? What is that race? The Everest 5K. And I'm flying down there with my good friend Martin, and I'm like, hey, is there any other Disney podcasts that I didn't know about that I should reach out to? And he's like, you should listen to this other podcast. It's all about entrepreneurs and interviewing them and blah, blah, blah. You'd be great to listen. You should totally listen to that. So I was like, oh, I'm sitting around the plane. I'm like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Actually, like I could do that. Like I know a bunch of business people. I grew up in a family business. I know plenty of people. And then I was like, you know what? But I know a lot more people like living their dreams and doing way cooler things than I am. Like I should totally do this. And then as soon as the plane landed, I registered the domain name, the Twitter handle, and the Facebook page before we got to the rental car. And I started texting you, Alex. I was like, hey, I'm gonna need help with this because I don't quite know what I'm supposed to do to get this, get work. I know how to use WordPress, but like, how do I get a feed up, and how do I get subscribers and that kind of stuff? And you're like, okay, well, we'll talk about it like when you get back. So I made this big long list of people I wanted to have on the show, and what it was going to look like, and what it was going to sound like, and what kind of questions I was going to ask, and all that stuff. And 2 weeks later, I had already sat down with you. I had started interviewing a lot of people, and I went live with one episode. And like, okay, I don't want to wait until another week to get another episode. I was interviewing people like every single day. I was like turning them out. So it's like, you know what? Let's go to 3 episodes. So we went from 1 episode a week to the second week. We went to 3 episodes a week. And then like 3 or 4 weeks into it, I was like, you know what? Let's go 5 episodes a week. Because why not? I'm cranking these out. We're going forward. I'm not slowing down. Everybody's having a good time. People are enjoying this. And let's just ride it out. And then that went on for like 3 months or so, which then it created like this huge back catalog of episodes in a very short period of time. And then I decided, I need to slow down a little bit if I'm going to write a book. That's my goal. I want to write a couple of books. I have some ideas and started to do that. And so it just kind of, it started with a show, an idea on a plane. So, ideas on a plane. There's got to be a better way of saying ideas on a plane, like snakes on a plane. And it went from that to being just so much more and like I said, opening all of the doors that it opened, as Ava opens a literal door. No, she doesn't. Behind me. Yes, Ava. It's ribbon. Yeah, it's ribbon. Yeah. So, it just goes to show like that anything, you want to accomplish can be done. You just have to figure out like, okay, what's the technical things? What's the things I need to fill in the blanks with? And I think that goes with John's comment here. It proves that anyone can learn anything at any time. It just takes determination. He's a woodworker engineer and hardly ever say no to building something.
Where were you when I was building the booth?
Not in Arizona, apparently. Oh, there you go, Joyce. Thank you so much. A plane and a dream. It could be a train and a dream, as a certain person drew a mouse on a train.
That's right. You drew a life on a plane.
Yes, I did. It all was coming together very rapidly from this idea of how like putting together, because honestly, I had never thought of a podcast as a interview platform. To me, it was like a bunch of Disney heads sitting around a round table discussion about how great Disney is, or Disney World, or something Disney, and it just didn't occur to me like, there's an interview format out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we tried to on our show we tried to do that. We tried to have guests on every, maybe once a month. We would have guests on. We had Ragtime Robert on, who's a phenomenal legend piano player at Coke Corner at Disneyland. We tried because it opens up doors that way. I mean, like you said, you never know what you're gonna learn, and that one guest can take you down a path that you never even considered going. Like, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting back, I can actually, I can see the progression between Dreamers podcast and actually, I can see the progression from us interviewing you to your new show, your TV show. But tell me how you went from, wanting to talk to people about their dreams to actually creating a TV show where you're helping them.
Yeah, I mean, well, there was an intermediate piece that and you might not have picked up on it. There was a time for like a year or so where the show went from being called the Dreamers Podcast to Dreamers Podcast: Business Lessons from Those That Live Their Dreams, which opened up the door for this little thing to show up
in the booth.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. I did do one. Yeah, yeah. So like it opened up the door for this to show to enter into our lives. Um and I, I, the progression, I think part of it was when I got started, I was trying to look for what I wanted out of life. What kind of life I wanted to have. And originally I really wanted to have an interview show. Like it was, I'm interviewing cool people and like thinking like, oh, it's all going to be osmosis. Like I'm interviewing them, they're going to like promote me to their people, and it's going to open up a lot of doors. And it did to a certain extent, but I would say not to the level that I kind of originally had envisioned. Like, oh, a year from now, I'm going to have such this huge casting network, and like opportunities are going to come to me, and everything's just going to like click like that. And it wasn't like that. It wasn't actually like that for a while actually. And I think part of the problem was I also wasn't willing to accept my role as a quote unquote coach. And I think that part of that falls under not wanting to be like in that crowd at the time and feeling like kind of unworthy and kind of like, well, how do I differentiate myself so that I'm not falling into the like with some of these undesirable people that um are kind of sketchy, I guess, in some ways. Now with that said, like it went from being like that to me realizing like, okay, I don't necessarily want to be the next Steve Harvey, the next Ellen, the next Oprah, like I don't necessarily want to be that interview like Larry King, right? That's not my goal. Um and coming to that realization, I think uh made it maybe a little bit scary at first, because I'm like, I've been doing this interview show for 2-3 years, and I've actually no, like 4 years, and it's like I've had this success with it where I've gotten to interview some really awesome people. And one of the things I was known for that people would come to tell me that they really loved about my show was that I was pulling up a lot of guests that weren't being interviewed on other shows. They weren't just making the rounds. um Really trying to find like unknown people that just aren't on any other shows, and pull them up and highlight their stories. And like I said, as time went on, I started to realize like, okay, so I want to highlight my business, my expertise in business, my personality more than just creating a log or a diary of what my guest has gone through. That was really started the start of the transition. um and that's where it started to become like business lessons from those that live their dreams. And eventually, once the award came into our lives, it was like, okay, maybe we need to look, maybe I need to really seriously look at like changing the name of the show. And my good friend Sam was like, she gave me the best kick in the butt. She's like, Joe, I love you, I love your show. If it wasn't you, I wouldn't listen to your show, because you're the whole dreamers thing, the whole like Sharpie artwork thing doesn't speak to me otherwise. But because it's you, and I know it's you, I love it. But and I love the format of the show and all that. So it was just a kick in my pants to say, maybe I'm just not hitting my right target market. And that's where the transition was like, okay, we're gonna go there. And then to get to the TV show, for the last couple of years, I had like had this dream of like, I want to have my own The Prophet, or my own The Bar Rescue, or something of that nature, where I get to go in and help business owners. Because I think what makes me kind of unique in the space is like, I recognize that businesses are hard, rigid things that want to operate like robots 24/7, always go, 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 go. But like the innards of that robot is soft and gooey, right? Like the like cream filling. It's people that are inside that robot, and they have outside issues. They have internal issues that like all kinds of conflict going on, and that's all weighing on that, which can slow the business down and slow the people down. So I think what makes me unique is like having the Dreamers podcast as my background, having 3 self-development books as my background, and having the ability to talk with people, get to the root of the problems in a way that, like, honestly, I feel like I should have been a therapist like long ago, but didn't want to go with the schooling. It gives me that unique ability to like really look into not just the numbers aspect, not just the team aspect, but not just the offer and the process, but like the people, like the actual, like what's going on. Let's get to the root of that so we can clear things up, so we can create a clear game plan that's built on solid facts, whether that's numbers or industry or whatever it is, based on something that doesn't lie, which numbers generally don't.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. It's pretty good. So obviously it's something you enjoy doing.
I'm sorry.
I said obviously it's something you're enjoying.
Yeah, I think for me, talking business is one of my favorite things. So it just made so much sense to like let's do it. And when the opportunity came on, like so the way this opportunity with the TV show came up was like it was a programming director from Biz TV gets in touch with me, says, "Hey, we really love like your podcast. We love the way you do it. Like we would love to have you on our network for podcasting." And I'm like, "Well, that's cool. I'm not so interested in that so much as I'm interested in having my own TV show. Oh, and by the way, I want it to be like this." And yeah, and then like a couple weeks go by, I start trying to build a team around it. I reach out to you, Al, and said, "Hey, look, at some point here, I want to be, as soon as I'm getting the money that I need to fill the roles, I want you to do some of the narration for it, and I'm going to utilize that as a storytelling component to this." So I haven't gotten there yet, but we're part of the journey was getting the right people to get it to episode 1, which is also coincidentally a pilot episode that I was able to post on the Facebook post on the YouTube and get it in front of as many people as possible, so that we could generate the buzz, get more businesses on board with wanting to be on the show. And I think part of that is I'm not doing it for the drama. I'm not doing it for like, how do I make this so drama filled and like it becomes more about the drama than the actual like sitting down and like discussing philosophy of business and like the team, the offer, the process. But finding that balance, and not necessarily embarrassing the business or the business owner, and having them wanting to come on the show and not be like, well, if I come on the show, everyone's going to know that I'm totally screwing up. Like, yeah, but we're also human, and that's where we're going to grow. And maybe your stumbling blocks are able, and how we fix them are able to help somebody else too. They'll see like, oh man, I totally identify with that, or I was there, and now I could see a different way of how to fix the problem that I could use to help somebody else.
Right.
When they are experiencing saying, I brought in my perspective to something, to another way of doing it. So I it's one of the things, like trying to find that balance there.
Yeah, we need to get you some challenging cases.
Yeah, I have a few on the actually, one of the biggest challenges is a lot of the businesses that are reaching out aren't in my immediate area. So like Wyoming and California and Atlanta and Orlando. So it makes it tough, because like I want to be able to go out there and fly out to those businesses. I want to go help them. I want to create and save jobs, but I also need to be able to afford to do that. So part of that, part of it is I have a few businesses that are in our area that are supposed to be getting on board with filling out the form. You know who you are. Please go do it. If you're listening or watching, and get them on board so I can go and film an episode 2, 3, 4, because the network also wants a total of 26 episodes. So last time I checked, one is not 26. It's a lot less than 26. So I gotta get more sponsors, more businesses, and we're, like I said, we're doing it. It's just taking longer, but I also don't have a big team around, like, making all this happen at once. So part of it is promoting it, and part of it is editing it, and part of it is writing it, and part of it is interviewing the businesses that do come my way. So it's just all it just all goes together. And actually, this whole time I should have probably had this banner up underneath me.
Yeah.
If you want to watch the first episode, go to superjoepardo.com/TV. You can watch the entire first episode for free. It's on YouTube. I would love to get your feedback. If you do so, leave a comment on the page or shoot me an email, joe@superjoepardo.com, or like click on the contact page, whatever you want to do, however you want to get in touch with me. I would love to get feedback, because we're trying to make it, or I'm going to say I'm trying to make it as great as I possibly can, for everybody involved.
If a business wants to sponsor you or help you out, how could they do that?
So if they wanted to learn how they can help me, they can go to superjoepardo.com/partners to go and learn more. You can watch the first episode on that page, and you can fill out the form. There's a media kit there to check out the different kind of packages that I offer, the advertorials that I offer. It goes into sponsoring this podcast as well. So it's not just the TV show, it's also the website. So you're trying to get like the trifecta of the brand, getting your brand in front of everybody, as many people as you possibly can. And if you're somebody who wants to get some behind the scenes extras and stuff like that, there's actually a way to do that. If you go to superjoepardo.com/support, you can actually go. That takes you right to the Patreon page, so you can get your name in the credits. You can get your business name in the credits. You can get access to bonus material. There's like Google web live video chats with me, getting your questions answered and that kind of stuff. It just depends on what level you want to support at. I haven't done a great job of promoting that. I feel like I should do a better job, but I hate asking for money at the same time. So it's tough. If
there was only a show that could help a business like yours,
get the spot,
box,
So it's a great ride. Have you gotten a chance to watch it, Al?
Yeah, I watched the first episode. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. What did you think?
I think overall I like the concept. I discussed with you a couple days ago.
Yeah.
From a technical perspective, but those are just bugs that need to be ironed out. Overall, I think this is a show that's worthy of further attention. I mean, it needs to get out there. I don't watch a lot of business shows, but I've seen a few, and yours is up there. I mean, you've got something that you offer, something that is different than what's out there, and you're giving it a different spin. More like how do I put it? More like a personal attention type thing. And I think that's great. It needs to get out there.
Well, thank you. I want people to feel like that there's somebody that cares, and I know how lonely it can feel, even when you're surrounded by lots of people in the process of building your business, and it still feels like it's a very lonely path. And that's why I'm saying, like, a lot of it is the human element, and that's what I think I work really, really well in, is trying to draw that human element out and like put it in perspective that it's not, like, you don't have to build your business or your lifestyle for your business. You can build your business for your lifestyle, and that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And it also means that it gets messy. very quickly, because we sometimes find ourselves like flip-flopping from being too involved to not involved enough, and it's just it just takes a lot of effort to like find the path that is worthy of our time and our effort.
Right. And it's a fine line too. I mean, it's a very fine line that has to be not just has to be walked, but you have to learn how to walk that fine line. Like you said, I mean, people. I think the biggest part of the reason why small businesses fail so quickly is because people have unrealistic expectations of what they're doing and what they should be doing and what they should have out of this. You know, people come up with an idea, go, this is a great idea. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to devote all my time into this. And then as soon as they find out, well, guess what? It takes a lot more work than just the idea. The idea is the tip of that iceberg. Underneath the surface of that water is all the work that you have to do. You have to work 7 days a week. You have to put in those lonely nights. And to have somebody help them and guide them and say, this is, okay, you've got a great idea. This is what's going to work for you, but you got to understand this. I think that's going to help a lot.
You know, Al, one thing I wish I could take back from all of the 5 years of doing this is the countless hours that I spent editing the first I don't know, couple like 100+ episodes, because you know, in the grand scheme of things, the amount of time I poured into editing those episodes didn't really make a difference in the grand scheme of things. And I just spent so much time. Like that's all that time could have been used to, you know, reach out to bigger guests or, you know, different guests, or digging deeper to find a hidden gem of a guest, or writing a book and still putting out a 5-day-a-week show, or, you know, any number of other things that I could have been doing other than editing a show that, you know, it's like the show is an hour long. I spent like 2 hours editing it to save people like less than 5 minutes.
Preach it.
Yeah, and it's like it doesn't the work doesn't what's the term I'm looking for? The juice isn't worth the squeeze, if you will. Because it's just, at the end of the day, it's like, now if I was editing an hour-long episode and I cut out like 30 minutes or like 25 minutes of it, then absolutely, like that makes a lot of sense. But I was just spending way too much time trying to get the perfect edit, because I'm like, oh, if I edit it just right, the guest is going to love it, and the guest is going to, you know, share the crap out of it, and it's just going to go like wildfire. And the fact of the matter is it didn't matter. And over the years, I got better at talking on the mic. I remember I got so many compliments on our first episode, the first episode of Dreamers Podcast, because of the sound quality. And they were like, how did you get such good audio? And it's like, well, the other person I was talking to was in a booth, and I had a not like craptastic mic.
Right.
You know, I also didn't have any kids in the house or anything like that, in that, like, getting in the way. Which is one of the reasons why, here's something I've struggled with over the last couple of years, especially since changing the show over to Business with Super Joe Pardo, is the level of professionalism in the recording. So like when I got started, I was like, oh, everything has to be like, you know, as good as I can make it. The sound quality has to be great. I can't have any interruptions and this, that, and the third. And then Ava came along, my daughter, and I was like, you know what? This is just not going to work. Like, the show has to be done, because my office had no door. I had an open door policy where there's no door in my office at all. And that's how I ended up with this Shure SM7B mic, was because I was using a Yeti mic, a Blue Yeti, and that just picks up like my neighbors from across the street could be heard on that mic. And so I got this mic, and I was like, this is good enough. and I'm just gonna roll with it. Like, Ava's crying in the background. Like, I'm gonna do my best to not have that be the case. Like, I invested the money to make that not be the case, but what it is, right? But then when the shows changed to Business with Super Joe Pardo, I feel like, well, I mean, I'm still kind of going for the same audience that I've kind of transitioned over to, which is like small business owners and that thing. But I'm also trying to like pinpoint some of the corporate people, right? Like the corporate entities that like they won't feel like they're getting a cheap product, if you will, if they're by listening to the show, and there might be noise in the background or something to that effect. But then part of me is like, you know what? It kind of goes back to no, I don't know if I asked you, Al. Like, I went back and forth a lot with a bunch of people about with the TV show. Should I wear I wear gray t-shirts like 90% of the time. Like, if you look at my closet, it's like a third of them is like a gray V-neck or a gray crew t-shirt.
So you're like the whitewashed Steve Jobs.
Yeah, well, yeah, and it makes it makes life easy. I don't have to think about what I'm gonna wear or anything like that. But the point was like, well, you should be wearing a button-down shirt, because I was like, yeah, but the businesses that we're going to aren't, this is like blue collar America. This isn't corporate America that I'm going to necessarily. I mean, if I walked in like to produce the show at a corporate type of entity, then yeah, I might consider wearing a button-down shirt at that point, maybe. But I will have to say this: if it comes, say it's like 2 years into the show, 3 years into the show, well, they know what they're getting at that point, right? Why should I have to change? They wanted me, not because I showed up in a button-down t-shirt.
Well, you're
That's
right.
why I'm confused. I don't know. I don't know.
It's you, not your outfit. I mean, look at it this way. Restaurant Impossible, Robert Irvine. Okay, it doesn't matter what kind of a restaurant he shows up at. If it's a little burger flip joint, or if it's a 5-star restaurant, he wears the same thing, which is similar to this. Only he fills his out much nicer than mine. They're getting him. That's what they're getting. They're not getting his outfit. They're getting him, and that's the way it is with you. If you want that gray T-shirt to be your thing, to be your signature, which it is. I mean, for as long as I've known you, that's what you've been wearing. In fact, I'm not entirely positive that's not the same shirt.
That's what I get a lot. In fact, I was at when I was on recording in Princeton for Princeton TV. The producer was on my website at the time. I had a gray T-shirt on my website, like me in a gray T-shirt on my website, and he's like, "Do you ever change your shirt?" So and admittedly on my website, I now wear a button-down T-shirt, or a button-down T-shirt. Yeah, that's what I mean. No, button-down shirt. And I would say that part of that is like putting your best foot forward.
Right.
But it also continues, like, as the brand continues to grow, it's like, does it really matter? Like, because I'll be known for it anyway. Yeah. Just like, and I've had this argument with quite a few people, including people in my own family, about the whole Super Joe Pardo branding, and how could people take you seriously if they're in a business and they're and you're calling yourself Super Joe Pardo? But my argument is, like, as time goes on and people are calling me that anyway, and it grows as I grow, and as time goes on, it just gets to the point where it's like, would it really matter if somebody thought like, oh, that's terrible?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like you have to just own it at that point, and roll with it, and be what it is. Now, John below says, I wore a long sleeve button down, slacks, wingtips, and a tie everywhere I went, even if it was to the Mickleton post office, which is the post office that I go to. Shout out to Wendy there. And now I just wear my You Do It t-shirt wherever I go for branding. And Maria can confirm this. Yeah, One of my guests, Steve Sims, was like, you could wear a big expensive suit, but that it doesn't change the fact that you're like, I think he was like something like you're just a wanker in a t-shirt or something, or in a button, or a chump in a suit or whatever. It doesn't change who you are. It just projects something a little bit different. But I think part of the whole I'm doing things differently and screw the rules is like I'm gonna wear what I feel comfortable in. Now, with that said, I do agree with my good friend Dr. Tyson. And his thought theory is like he just doesn't think gray is the right color. He's like, I don't have a problem with the shirt. He's like, I have the problem with the gray because the gray just kind of blends in. And there's a reason I like gray, and this is a super. And we were like an hour into this thing anyway, so this is like a super real comment. Is the reason gray is because I used to wear black. I used to wear black a lot, like going back into like 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. Like I'd wear like a black t-shirt like every day. And it wasn't because of Steve Jobs, but because I wasn't going to wear a turtleneck. That's for darn sure. But gray just, it has like some of the characteristics, the benefits of black without being black. That's like, it wears weight a little bit better. And I need to get my butt running again more often than I am. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. The shirt doesn't make the man, right? Neither does the lack of hair, for that matter. For that matter.
You can spray paint a dog turd gold, but it doesn't make it a work of art.
I don't know about that, because there's plenty of people that would be like, oh, there is art in that. There's money in that art.
Probably.
But I have a question for you. Have you been recognized for your voice yet?
Well, one of my books was just nominated for Independent Audiobook Award. So
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, the big ceremony where they're gonna pick the winners is coming up in June. I believe in Missouri, if I'm not mistaken. Unfortunately, I can't attend it because my wife and I are going to New York at the end of this month for another conference. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the only recognition that I've gotten. But to be honest, in the begining,
I meant like literally recognized. Like you're like at the grocery store and someone's like, I recognize that voice.
No, I've never been. Well, thanks. Okay, now I've heard Joe call you John, but your name is showing up differently. So what is your name?
I'm like 99% sure it's John. It's John, right? Or is it Dave? I think it's John. Like he said it once.
I'm seeing a name like Regor.
Yeah, no, that's that. Yeah, but his actual name, I believe, is like I'm like 90% sure it's John. I'm sure he'll eventually catch up to this, and he will.
Hopefully he's not in witness relocation, and we just blew it for him.
Oh, okay. It's middle name and last name backwards.
Okay, all right, Roger.
So Roger. But my first name is John. There you go.
All right, John.
Nailed it.
Well, thank you for the congratulations. But yeah, no, I've never been really recognized. I used to do when I first started doing voiceovers. I did a spin-off podcast on our Just Because feed called Just Because Inside the Voiceover Studio, and I interviewed a lot of people, and the big introduction was that these are the most famous people you've never heard of, and that kind of goes along that line, that when you get to a certain level, sure, I mean, people go, your voice sounds familiar, but no, I've never experienced that yet.
You know what we also didn't talk about? The fact that you've been on TV yourself in commercials.
Yeah. I've done a couple of GoDaddy commercials. That was a blast. Those were blast.
Did they film them in Arizona? Or did you have to fly somewhere? Really?
From here.
I didn't know anything got filmed in Arizona.
Oh yeah, Arizona is actually a pretty big film industry location. There's a lot of movies are shot here. A lot of TV shows are shot here. Commercials galore are shot here.
Really? Huh. I was not aware. Yeah, that's awesome though. That I did that. I mean, I didn't know that, but I did know that you were in at least two, right? Or two
Yeah,
or three?
yeah.
Two.
The first one was during the 2016 presidential race, and it aired during Super Bowl Sunday, and then several times after that. And the second one was super fun. It was the GoDaddy campaign with the internet. The guy who was the internet. Hi, I'm the internet. It was filmed in a bowling alley. I was one of the guys up front cheering on the guy who broke his arms. Yeah, armless bowling. That was the name of the commercial. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun. I mean, it's nothing that I really aspired to do. I have an agent for my voiceover work, and she talked me into also putting my headshot and my name up for on camera work too. And I've had several auditions for movies, for TV shows and commercials, but those are the only ones I've ever gotten so far.
You did a pretty convincing Santa Claus a little bit before here. I hit record so I could save some of that because Ava was just eating up the fact that she might actually be talking to Santa Claus.
Yeah, well, the beard helps.
Yeah.
Letting that bad thing grow. I don't know why. Maybe so I can comb over someday.
that would be something. That would be something. Well, Al, one thing I do feel bad about. I feel bad that this year we didn't raise any money for charity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that we did last year. I might have. I don't remember if I did. I think I might have just posted for people to donate to HopeWorks. I think last year. I think that might have been what I did. I'll have to go back because I don't quite remember. But because that's one thing. Like I said, I hate asking for money. And that's one of the ways that I was able to like raise money for charity was like tie it in with the anniversary show and just raise money through. I mean, we've raised a couple $1,000s for Give Kids the World, and we've raised money for a wheelchair for Lori Foster, who I need to. I gotta talk to her sometime soon because it's been a little while since I've talked to her. But and we've raised money for a couple other individual issues that have come up over the years for other people, and it's something that I feel like I now with the way the show is structured, and it's actually kind of spontaneous because like one week I'm doing a solo episode, and 1 week I'm interviewing somebody, and now I'm throwing the TV show into the mix, and I actually am thinking about getting seriously back into doing regular like business lesson vlogs like I was doing back in 2017 because I have some time here and I have some time here and there, and it would also and actually this time making them so they fit the podcasting format so that they I can actually just interchange, like throw them in as podcast episodes as well. Will help, free up some time on my part if I, by combining everything. So I think for me, I think it's a great time to talk about the future. So why don't you start with what your future looks like in the next year to 2 years there, Al?
Wow, that's a good question. Like I said, I'm getting ready to head out to the a big audiobook conference at the end of May. Get to meet a lot of publishers, hopefully that I haven't met yet, and we do a thing. They draw. You can apply for it, and if you're accepted, you get to do something called Director's Diagnostics, where you actually read a piece, an excerpt from an audiobook to a casting director, and they critique you, and that's a great way to make connections. But my plan is to meet a couple new publishers this year and get work for them and just continue to grow so that I actually get to a point where I have to start turning work away. I mean, that would be my ultimate sign that I've made it when I've got publishers saying, please do our book, but I have to say, I can't because I'm booked for the next year. That's what I'm planning to do. I'm designing a new booth. It's going to be rock solid and a lot better than what I've got now. So that's in the cards for the coming year. And that's pretty much it. I just want to continue to grow my business and then help my wife grow hers. And then maybe skip that one sometime.
And I'm saying maybe do what? So you broke up.
The little one sometime.
Read for the little one?
Yeah, babysit her.
Oh, babysit. Oh, Santa Claus wants to babysit you, Ava. Yeah. Are you okay? Yeah. You don't look okay. You look like you've been crying, and she's been dealing with some allergies or something. Yes, Ava.
You fix it.
Can I fix this?
Yeah.
How about like that?
There.
Like that. What do you say?
Thank you.
You're welcome. You should go to bed.
So what about you?
Here.
What have you got? What does your world look like in the coming couple of years?
Well, no more kids other than the two I got. That's very much knock on wood for as much as I'm in control. I think the TV show, gaining traction, gaining sponsorships. I think everything I've been working for, I think everything is going to start to gel. I have another book that I want to do. I haven't announced the name of the book, but since, we're so deep into this podcast episode that, if you're still listening, it's incredible. And I greatly, deeply appreciate it. I really mean that because there's been plenty of times Ava coming in and attention going elsewhere. But I want to do a leadership book that kind of blends my first 4 books together a little bit. And it's with a hard focus on leadership. And while I haven't given the title name out, I think I'm going to do it right now because why not? Like, let's just get it out there.
It's exclusive for Super Joe Pardo.
I haven't gotten the domain name yet for it, so I hope nobody takes it. But it's going to be called The Table, and what you bring to it. And as a leadership book, I think like I said, I'm going to try to blend my style of writing from like my self-development, my first 3 books, and blend that in with like the more professional Sales Won't Save Your Business book, with like the workbook inside of it and all that, to try to kind of pull it all together. Oh, Andre said, say, thanks, Andre. And John's still here, and I appreciate both of you guys as this is for hanging in there. And Dre, I want to play some video games after this, so so I know I just saw your post out about professional gaming. Did you see the video? You probably didn't have time to see it.
Yeah.
You should watch that video because the amount of this going on is insane. Those StarCraft 2 players are insane. It is very much a high dexterity, lot of decision making kind of thing going on at once. But anyway, going back, so it's going to be called The Table and What You Bring to It, and it's going to be a leadership book that will hopefully help business owners, but also managers as well, and want to be leaders. So when that'll be done, that's probably in the 1.5 to 2 year range, depending on how things go with the TV show. Right now, the big focus is keeping the podcast, on the rails, keep it, so I don't fall off like I did in the beginning of it, which is the first time ever in 4.5 years that I had ever fallen off the rails of not putting out an episode. not putting on an episode every single week. I guess he's here because he's trying to remind me that I told him we'd probably play a game later tonight. uh, so yeah. So there's that, and getting this TV show off the ground, getting the businesses needed, the sponsorships needed, and just pushing really, really hard for. I guess now that I have exactly where I want to go in mind, right? Like I think leading up to I guess like mid 2017, I was just starting to form like where I really wanted to head, like the business aspect, then changing the show over to the business with Super Joe Pardo, and just really like hammering it home and bring people into my world, and being that authentic and I know authentic is such a overused, you know pushover word that everybody likes to stamp on everything, but really, like, that's part of the thing, like having my daughter come in the room, like, I don't want to be like that dude that was on CNN or BBC that's like, I'm just gonna stop because I can't do it with my kids, like, walking in the room, like, you just got to roll with the punches. And yeah, he caught a lot of flack for that actually turns out that he isn't like this awful person that everybody tried to make him out to be. But even so, like I said, like, I would be trying to just roll with the punches, though with that said, when you get onto those those TV networks, you only have like 2 or 3 minutes to like say your piece,
Right.
so I don't know if I'd want to, but you never know. Like, hey, like, that's, why not get known for something that's like cool, like bringing your kid on board.
If that's you, that's you. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what people are getting, right? And that's what I've always said from the beginning is like, if you want the boring business coach or you want the boring consultant, like, be my guest. There's plenty of those. You can go down the street and go find 20 of them.
right.
If you want the guy that started with a music album and took it to books and then took it to a podcast and now took it to YouTube and now taking it to TV, well, then that's me. And writing. I've wrote blogging even way before that. Going back into like 96, I was blogging. So you want all that kind of, if you want that kind of person, then I'm here. If you don't, then there's 500 other people down the street that all wear suits and ties, and that's all good and well. I'm good for you.
All right.
So, all right, let's wrap it up. Al, how can people get in touch with you? How can they connect with you? I've been flashing your name up on the banner here, but for anyone who can't see that because they're listening to the podcast, how can they get in touch with you?
Well, my website is alkessel.com, ALKESSEL.com. My email address is very similar. It's al@alkessel.com. Pretty simple. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Storyteller Al. I'm on Facebook. Is my name. I also have a business page for Storyteller Narrations, which is the formal name for my business. I'm also on Instagram, where I like to post pictures of our dog a lot. If you want to check out my my audiobooks, go to audible.com and search Al Kessel, and you'll see currently 102 titles there, 2 of which belong to you. If you go to my website, I have a page there with some samples of my audiobook work, including right on the front page. On the bottom, there's a sample of my award-nominated book, The Deep, which is an awesome horror story, by the way, kind of a blend of Alien and Jaws and all those all wrapped together. It's wild, by Michael Brent Collings. And that's pretty much it. And also, I wanted to offer one thing real quick. If anybody is interested in listening to either of your 2 books, send me an email to al@alkessel.com, and I'll get you a review copy.
Boom. How about that?
Yeah.
Doesn't get that is thank you for offering that. I appreciate that. And I hope that if you're looking to get your book together and get it not just published and selling on Amazon, but an audiobook, I would greatly suggest that you do that, because so many audiobooks, I mean, there's a reason that audible.com is just like plastered everywhere, on every podcast, on every YouTube channel. Like, there's a reason, because they're selling. I mean, there's also because they're like owned by Amazon, but they're selling something, right? Like, that's
books is one of the fastest growing segments of the entertainment industry. It's incredible. Every year, the numbers double and triple from the previous year. So it's definitely a way of getting your stuff out there.
And it's definitely a way for you to keep employed. So I love that. That's something I can get behind. Al, thank you so much for taking the time tonight to be here. I'm sure you can't wait to get to sleep. You've been up a very long day, and you probably have a very long day ahead of you in the next day. Al, is there any last thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap up here?
I just wanted to say thank you for having me on the show. I'm honored to be part of your whole journey. I mean, it's been wonderful to watch you grow. It's like, I feel like I'm watching my own kid.
Oh,
awesome. And it's wonderful. I love to see, people succeed, and especially when they're great people, I love to see them succeed as well. Oh yeah, I want that. Oh,
send him an email, John.
John, and put Rhaegar, because that sounds like something out of Game of Thrones. I love that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a joy to watch your journey, and I can't wait to see what the future has in store for you.
Thank you so much.
I'm
sorry, what did you say?
I said happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah, it is a happy anniversary, and it's like I said, it's just I'm really just getting started. Like, everything. They say it takes 7 to 10 years to be an overnight successful. I'm either 2 years away or halfway there, and either way, it's all downhill from there, from here. So I am just super honored to be a part of so many other people's journeys, and get the help along the way, and have people help me along the way. So this has been incredible, and I really appreciate your help out in everything, all of this, and I'm glad that we got to share, if nothing else, we got to share a trophy together. That just I cried. So I don't know if you saw that video, but I cried.
Yeah. I was nice to meet you too, John.
All right, everybody. If you've enjoyed this episode of A Business with Super Joe Pardo, you please do me a huge favor. Do Al Kessel a huge favor and share it with somebody that you know or love. I know this episode was more celebration and getting, look back on everything that's happened over the last 5 years. But there was definitely some awesome business lessons along the way in this journey. I hope you all have a great week. Look for more podcast episodes, because I don't want to commit to anything just yet, but I actually might start releasing some more podcast episodes more regularly. We're not even more regularly, but like more often than once a week, as I'm trying to figure out the workflow of how I can integrate more episodes into this as I move forward and get the TV show ready to go. I have a few people that, if everything goes well, in the next few days, I'll be doing some interviews and hopefully be scheduling episodes 2 and 3, maybe even 4 and 5. We'll see in the near future, and hopefully we'll get those recorded and get this TV show out to the masses, whether it's just through YouTube, in the short term. It's definitely destined for TV, because I put a crap ton of work to get it set up. Everybody have a great week, and I will definitely see you next week.
Peace out.